morning and happy Monday. I hope you are excited and geared up for another week of e-learning. This week we are going to be reading books that have one thing in common. We're thinking about that same theme over and over again. And we're going to actually be reading books that we've already read before. So they're familiar books. And we know that it's totally okay to read books again because we're looking for something new each time that we read. So this week, we're going to be focusing on that one theme and really be thinking about, what does the author want me to learn? Why did the author even write this story? So today, we're going to be reading one of my personal favorite stories, Bootsie Barker Bites. Oh, I love this story. So this is a story, and it's not actually told by Bootsie Barker. It's actually told by someone else. Just this narrator. We never know her name. She just says I. And Bootsie Barker always comes to her house and she just doesn't play very well. Let's read to find out what happens at the end. Bootsie Barker Bites by Barbara Bottner and illustrated by Peggy Rathman. Bootsie Barker Bites. My mother and Bootsie Barker's mother are best friends. When Mrs. Barker comes to visit, she always brings chocolate donuts, fresh strawberries, and Bootsie. Look at her grin. Oh, she just doesn't look very nice. First, we have a tea party. Then, my mother tells Bootsie and me to play in my room. So far, it looks like they're having a good time. I tried to get Bootsie interested in my book about turtles. But Bootsie hates turtles. Look at the illustrations here. You can really tell that Bootsie hates turtles, can't you? Look at the way she looks. Her hands are in the air. The book is flown. She even has a piece of page in her hand. Wow. I'm not sure about Bootsie. You're a turtle, howls Bootsie, and I'm a turtle-eating dinosaur. Oh goodness, look at her, she's running away. I love what the author does here with the shadows. See, that's not really Bootsie's shadow, but the author wants us to see what these little girls are imagining in their head. So we see she's a dinosaur, and we see she's a turtle. My mother calls, "Play nicely, girls." Bootsie yells, "We are!" I can't yell anything. It's time for the Barkers to go home. "We'll be back tomorrow," says Mrs. Barker cheerfully. I tell my mother I don't like playing with Bootsie Barker. My mother tells me I have to learn to get along with all kinds of people. I go to bed and dream that Mrs. Barker moves far away and takes Bootsie with her. But Mrs. Barker and Bootsie never go anywhere except the park, the grocery store, and our house. It's kind of like us right now, isn't it? I can make a connection. That's like us. We're not going anywhere. We're all just going to the same places. It's so nice you girls can be friends, says Mrs. Barker as Bootsie leads me to my room. Look at how she looks. She's holding her by her pigtails. She looks so mad, and Bootsie Barker looks excited. I let Bootsie look at my pet salamander, Charlene. Oh, I wonder what Bootsie's gonna do with poor Charlene. But Bootsie hates salamanders. "You're a salamander," screams Bootsie. "And I'm a salamander-eating dinosaur." Mrs. Barker knocks on the bedroom door. It's time for Bootsie to go home. "Tomorrow," says Bootsie, "you'll get to be a worm." That night, I dream that Bootsie accidentally falls off the edge of the world. I try to save her, but it's too late. So Bootsie Barker really isn't a good friend, is she? No, she always has to be the one in charge. She's pulling on our character's hair. She's just really being mean and kicking things and ruining things. never wondering what this little girl thinks. Bootsie Barker is not kind. Bootsie Barker is a bad friend. In the morning, my mother says she has a wonderful surprise. Bootsie will be staying overnight at our house while her parents are in Chicago. Is it a wonderful surprise? No, look at her face. She's like, oh my gosh. I picture Charlene and me being rushed to the hospital with dinosaur bites. Oh, she is so anxious. When my mother asked me what Bootsie and I would like for snacks, I can't stand it anymore. Bootsie Barker is a dinosaur, I shout, and she's planning to eat me alive. She just had it. My mother looks surprised. Sweetheart, she says, tell Bootsie you don't want to play that game. I go to my room to think it over. She hasn't done that before, has she? No, she just always gives in to Bootsie Barker, lets Bootsie Barker take charge. She hasn't really ever stood up to Bootsie Barker. Charlene and I spend the morning inventing a new game. The doorbell rings. It's the Barkers dropping off Bootsie the dinosaur. Hello, little worm, says Bootsie. I stand up and look Bootsie in the eye. Pardon me, Bootsie. I am not a worm. I am a paleontologist. Do you know what they do? They hunt for dinosaur bones. Would you like to play? Look at Bootsie. My, how the tables have turned. Bootsie runs out the front door. She wants to go with her parents. Mrs. Barker says Bootsie will have more fun if she stays at our house. Bootsie throws a tantrum on the sidewalk. So Bootsie's parents take Bootsie to Chicago, which means I don't have to wish Bootsie a rocket to outer space. Although if she does, it's fine with me. And that's the end of our story. So, at the end, did Bootsie change? Yeah, she realized, wait a minute, I don't like it when she takes charge. And I bet she's going to do some self-reflecting and think about and realize that maybe they both should pick the game. I want you to look at our question for today. Does this remind you of anything that's happened to you before? So think about, did something like what happened to our character, maybe you have met a Bootsie Barker before. Maybe you've been a Bootsie Barker before. How does this remind you of something in your own life? You're going to get out a piece of paper and answer this question on your own. Then you're going to read for 20 or 30 minutes from Raz Kids and answer the same question from your story. Can you make a connection to another story that you read? Do one of your books remind you of anything? See you tomorrow.